to celebrate another school year. The kids will love them, right, kids? Krispy Kreme Donuts in front of HCA Hospital, 23rd Street, Panama City, and Ross Clark Circle in Dothan.
Camera pulls back. Crunch! The Titanic hits an iceberg.
Excuse me.
In slow motion, we see the Titanic sinking. People screaming. Ah!
Excuse me. What does the sinking of the Titanic have to do with advertising my party supply store?
Here we go. Don't sink in despair. Everything you need for a great party, you'll find at Wally's Party
Look,
World.
I'm thinking of going with radio instead. I met with a local station. They're members of the RAB, the Radio Advertising Bureau, with access to research, marketing expertise.
Stop. I have the three tenors singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat in Italian while clinging to the side of the ship.
And with the radio station, the RAB, I can find out who buys party supplies, when they buy, how much they spend, everything that'll get my product really close to the consumer.
Oh, like that's important.
What?
Nothing. Okay, close. John Cape Canaveral, a rocket launches into space. Super for a party that's out of this world.
Please don't take this personally.
For more information, call 850-215-4468. We're 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
When summer comes to a close on the loveliest village on the plains, our family gathers again just as we have for the last 131 years. Unrivaled traditions.
Get out your toilet paper. Toomer's Corner is going to be buried tonight.
The craziest atmosphere.
Not going to keep them off the field tonight.
Unforgettable moments.
Let's go play ball.
That's Auburn being Auburn.
Your home for the Auburn Tigers. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Come at me, bro. WGSX Lynn Haven, WVL2 Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida. Get ready.
Deep center field and heading for the horizon.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
Onions, pickles.
The Afternoon Underdogs
Way back and gone.
on ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
Yo, Northwest Florida, how you doing today on this Friday afternoon? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're also on 101.9 in the Port St. Joe area. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and download the app and register at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. You'll find that in your Apple store or in your Google Play store. So check that out and take us wherever you want to go. Got a great show for you on Friday, as always. Got David Hayes here with me in the studio. He's going to be here in the first segment, and then he's going to take off to do the Mosley football game today with Kyle Wright. It's going to be Mosley and Arnold tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Over at Gablack?
Gablack Stadium will be on top of the press box this afternoon, so hopefully the sun that we're seeing right outside the window will be there. Hey, you crushed the intro, my man.
Right on, man. Well, if you see the guys out there, wave to them. Make sure they're safe up there. Hopefully everything will be cool. Not like, Brian Kelly with a guy on a scissor lift recording a practice or something like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully the weather will stay all right for you guys. If you guys know about that, cool. If you don't, look it up. It's kind of a crazy story, especially if you don't know about Brian Kelly. So
now, I actually, this is news to me. Is this something that is going on this week and they're getting ready for Grambling?
No, this happened when he was at North Dakota. Notre Dame. He was there was some kind of a student that was in, I guess, like the communications program or doing something, and I was recording like a practice up on a scissor lift, and I think he was up like 20-something feet in the air. It was a very windy day, and they probably should have had him down for safety reasons, but he told, the people, wanted to tape on the practice or what have you, and unfortunately the scissor lift blew over, and I think the kid lost his life. A lot of people, it was something, I don't want to say swept under the rug, but I don't think a lot of people actually know about it or heard about it, and I think, I want to say maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, I wonder what part of the tenure of this was at Notre Dame, because it could have been before, the huge social media explosion. And it
might have been a little bit longer than that. I'm being kind of vague, I maybe can look it up too or something like that. But yeah, just a crazy story. A lot of people probably don't know.
That's a wild story, man. Those scissor lifts, they can be a lot of fun. They can be very dangerous as well. I used to work on those a lot whenever I used to put up awnings. So that's crazy. But yeah, hoping for some good weather tonight, being that we'll be on the press box and we're going to have a lot of electronics that will be susceptible to the conditions, if you will. But it should be a great game tonight. Y'all come pack out Gablack Stadium for Mosley Arnold. A little Bay County action going on tonight.
Yeah, listen to our own David Hayes doing the play-by-play, and then Kyle Wright doing the color. Sometimes he, needs the numbers to help him color them, but, whatever works. Sometimes black and white, too. Sometimes you don't need colors.
There you go, man.
Like I said, it's Friday. We got a great show. We're going to have Tim Braddock in at 4:20 with the Real Fishing Report. I believe he's actually going to call in. He won't be actually in studio, but hey, that's still great. We'll get some information from him. We're going to talk to Derek Tate like we've usually been on Fridays at 5 o'clock. We also have RJ Starcevic. We're going to be talking to him about some NASCAR stuff. Again, we're going to be talking football. We might talk a little Braves baseball, do a little update. Just so much to talk about right now, man. There's a lot going on in the sports world. Like I said last week, changes in the air. Maybe not necessarily here as far as as far as the air goes with the heat temperature, but definitely in the airwaves though. It's definitely a great time of year. So
just a little echo action there.
No doubt, it's all good.
No, that's me. I opened up Facebook and then we were just hearing ourselves very briefly after that.
Difficulties, yeah, that's all it is. In fact, I haven't even done mine yet. So and definitely try to comment. I'll try to keep up as much as I can. Me doing this, Dave's he's a pro at this.
Ooh,
me just kind of like filling in, trying to do a lot of things at once. And I definitely got to give this guy a lot of credit because it's definitely it's a full-time job when you're in here trying to make everything happen at once. So
it's fun, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts, but it's still a privilege and an opportunity to be able to talk sports here in Northwest Florida, especially being here in Panama City for I've been saying 8 years for like 10 years now, so it's well over a decade though.
Right, and I don't even call myself like technically a local, I guess. I mean, I moved down here in fall of '96.
Yeah,
I did go to Atlanta for a few years just to get away for a little while, but I mean, I've been down in the South now longer than I was up in the North. I still embrace my roots, obviously, but I don't think I fully embrace the area I'm at down here. I'm trying to, though. I'm getting more and more to it. I just I'm the kind of person that I'm just stuff stays close to your heart. It's kind of hard to change sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I've pretty much been back and forth here my whole life. So,
all right. Well, let's talk about last night's game, right? I mean, it was an awesome game last night. We were talking about it actually in our pick'em. I thought I picked the Chiefs because I was kind of going back and forth there, didn't know which way to go, and I ended up actually taking the Lions by accident, I guess, and I ended up being right. So hey, I feel pretty good about that. Last night, just a crazy game though. What a way to start the NFL season. First drive, Lions come out. They actually moved the ball just, a little bit, but then they, punted. And then Kansas City gets the ball back, and they don't do a whole lot on their first drive either, and then another punt. And then, boy, that second drive by the Detroit Lions, man, they just showed us what Dan Campbell and that team is all about. You have a 91-yard play drive that's like 14 plays long, I believe.
Yeah.
Ends in a 9-yard touchdown by Amon-Ra St. Brown. And how about going for a fake punt inside your own 20 last night?
Yeah.
And then pulling it off.
And pulling it off, and then later on in the game being so confusing that you decide not to go with the fake punt or going for it there on fourth down. But yeah, they have some guts over there. They, you felt it when Dan Campbell took over the Lions. He's going to be biting kneecaps. His Lions will be biting kneecaps. And they proved that last night. Now, of course, you got guys like Tirico and saying there should be other pundits as well saying there should be an asterisk beside that win last night. I totally disagree. I can't remember who it was. Rex Ryan was on with Dan Patrick today, and he obviously disagreed with that as well. End of the day, yeah, Travis Kelce wasn't out there. End of the day, Frank Clark was up in the stands. End of the day,
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones. End of the day, Chris Jones is up in the stands. But still, a win is a win. This is the National Football League, and if Kadarius Toney makes 2 of those catches, let's not even say that. If he catches the first drop of the evening where Brian Branch takes it the other way, 50 yards to the house, then we could be talking about a totally different scenario. If Andy Reid, who, hey, we're talking about a multi-Super Bowl winning head coach, decides to punt there at the end of the game with 2 minutes and 9 seconds and 3 timeouts left, then maybe they get another shot. And let's not even forget, or we cannot forget, that fourth down play, what was it, 4th and 25, 4th and 30, something like that. I don't think it was that far, but they were around their own 25-yard line, throws it up. Pat Mahomes does.
It's close.
And the ball should have been caught.
Yeah, right off the guy's hands.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, and that is exactly why the Lions ended up winning the game.
No, game of inches, actually a 1-point game. Would have been 2 points to win.
Yeah.
Easily can say that Travis Kelce and Chris Jones equal 2 points or more in that game.
Well, definitely with Travis Kelce, I don't even think, and we don't think of the Kansas City Chiefs as a primarily running team by any stretch of the imagination, but when you have the ability to pass at a higher clip for the Chiefs, normally it's the run game that's going to open up your passing. I think that we've been seeing offenses go in a different direction where they kind of just start in the middle and finish up with the pass. But yeah, they couldn't get the run game going. They ran the ball with Pacheco. I don't even know how many times. It was not very much at all, though. So you had 23 carries totaling 90 yards, and the biggest winner of them all was Patrick Mahomes, 6 carries for 45 yards there.
Rusher that they had.
Yeah, so I think having a guy like Travis Kelce opens up Pacheco and McKinnon as well. But this is not something to me that says, oh, we got to be worried about the Chiefs. No, we don't. I don't think that there's anything to worry about the Chiefs when they were handicapped to some degree and still were in the game. And if, again, Kadarius Toney doesn't, drop that pass and it lands in the hands of Brian Branch, we could be talking about a totally different situation. But you have to give a ton of credit to the Lions to start this season out. They finished last season by keeping Aaron Rodgers out of the playoffs, and they start this season with knocking off Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. And for what it's worth, in Arrowhead, very difficult. That was the first time for Jared Goff to be playing in Arrowhead last night.
Oh, was it really? I didn't hear that. Okay, well, that's pretty impressive too. This no quit in the Lions. I mean, earlier on in the game when the Chiefs had the lead, you saw them keep fighting. They took on that personality of their head coach. They kept, trying to, move the ball down the field, hitting hard. When the Chiefs tried to do that little trickeration play to the right side, they were right on top of it, and smothered them out. Just a great game all around by the Lions, praying on those on the tribe of the Chiefs, last night. I got to give them a lot of credit. There's a lot of hype there. First time that Ford Field's going to be sold out for the entire season. That's pretty impressive. So there's a lot of expectations. Not only with the team but the people in Detroit. So I think that's a big deal for them. And winning that game last night, it's putting them in the right direction. But you have to keep it going though. Now,
you can't get too high. You can't get too high after a game like this. You still got to win your division. I mean, it's game by game. And I think that's exactly the message that Dan Campbell preaches to his guys week in and week out. Off-season, out and off-season, and during the preseason for that matter. It's going to be a fun ride. I don't want to compare them to Colorado because it's a totally different thing, but that feeling of for a large portion of college football fans who right now saw what Deion Sanders, Coach Sanders, and the Colorado Buffalo were able to do last week. And so now look at the bandwagon, right? Well, the Lions are going to be maybe that type of story in the NFL. I think they were trying to be that last year. They got off to a hot start, but they were getting as many points scored on them. They were leading the league in scoring and in points given up to that point. So you'd like to see that change, but at the end of the day, it's not about the points you give up. It's not about the points you score. It's about the W's. It's about the times that you do outscore your opponent. So they're a fun team, and I think America's rooting for them this year.
No doubt. So what'd you think of Jahmyr Gibbs last night, seeing him?
There's first game, right? So I think David Montgomery for now is going to be that lead back, but I think he's more not explosive, but I think that he is more dynamic than what David Montgomery is. So similar to last year where you see a lot of Swift to move the ball down the field and then Jamal Williams punching it in. Right. This year I think you'll see a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs, especially in the passing game, but then once they get 10 and in, you'll see a lot of David Montgomery, which is good because you don't want to put all of this pressure on Jahmyr Gibbs. Not just pressure. Exactly.
He's a young guy, not used to playing 17 games in a season.
No reason to put all those miles on him.
Yeah, I don't think I'd do that, especially nowadays too with running backs. Once you get up in your late 20s, you got a lot of miles on those tires.
Well, this is huge for all running backs. All running backs who are looking to be paid need to be looking to Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, because if these guys fall flat on their face, now I'm not saying here in year one, but if they fall flat in the first 3 years or so, what's going to happen? Very similar situations to Saquon Barkley and to Josh Jacobs, and it's going to be worse as a whole for running backs in the NFL. NFL, because why are teams going to jump up to take guys that are easily replaceable from the owner's perspective?
Yeah, well, and obviously it's probably one of the easiest positions to transition from college into the pros at the running back position.
Yes.
So usually when they come into the league, they're ready to go, and they don't need the kind of seasoning that other position players might need. So we've talked about it before, an idea, instead of, having your traditional like clock, you do for your normal players come in that are getting drafted in, maybe shorten the window for running back to maybe say 3 years before they can get that next deal. So that way maybe they can get paid while there's still, miles left on those tires.
Yeah, I think that's one of two moves that we could be seeing in the NFL here in the near future. One of those being that quarterbacks could have their own lane, their own type of salary cap. Adam Goff had brought that up Wednesday afternoon. And then as you just mentioned there with running backs, I think when you come from college football to the NFL by way of the draft, instead of having that 4-year deal, you can get 3 years, because what is the shelf life anyways, right? Averagely speaking, we're talking 2 to 4 years for a good running back. We're talking 3 to 6 years
your
for
average
a great running back.
NFL career is 3 years.
Yeah,
3.5
exactly.
years.
Over and done with,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
So give these running backs, give some of these position groupings that are not able to make the money as they the same amount of money as their teammates, give them an opportunity to have multiple goes at getting the bag, if you will.
Well, let me ask you this then, with NIL and the money going that way, do you think that might kind of change things too, where they're still not going to really look to give them the money because they're going to be like, well, hey, you made money in college too, so we don't really necessarily need to give it to you here in the pros?
That's interesting, because I don't think that NFL teams should be allowed to be like, well, you made a lot of money from your NIL, so hope you saved it.
Whatever's their prerogative, though. The money, you have the salary cap, so the money's still being spent.
Somewhat.
They're just not allocating that money to the running backs.
Yeah.
You might be giving more to your quarterback, to an edge rusher, a cornerback, wherever you're going to allocate that money. But the salary cap goes up every year, so there's more and more money. They're just reallocating those funds in other areas because, in the running back market, they always feel that they can find somebody in later rounds or somebody potentially off the scrap heap. Not only in fantasy, but just in real NFL numbers. Cordero Patterson, he was drafted high early on, and he just didn't pan out the first handful of years he was in the league. But then all of a sudden he goes to Atlanta. He finds Arthur Smith, a guy that's got a run-first offense, and he just fits right in. And all of a sudden, look at the success he's had in the last couple of years. A lot of it is where you're going, which team drafts you, and where you land is going to determine a lot in your pro career.
I think that's a perfect segue then into Caleb Williams.
No
what
doubt.
is your thoughts on the situation going on with Caleb Williams? His dad came out and said that if the right team, if he's not in the right situation, if they don't like the team essentially that Caleb Williams could be drafted by, that he'll go back to college football.
I think that's a real pompous way of looking at things. I really don't like that. They call it a draft for a reason. You get drafted and you're not supposed to dictate where you're going. Same way you get drafted in the military. If there was ever, another draft enlisted, you're going wherever they tell you to go. It's not your choice, unfortunately. And you're entering into this voluntarily.
Yeah.
So if you enter into it voluntarily and somebody picks you, I don't think you should have a say. I think they should do where that team still holds on to your rights. And, if you don't want to play, that's on you, but you're not getting paid. Okay. And then if they decide they want to move you, they can. We've seen it before in the past, just a few times. Eli got the move. I remember vividly sitting on my couch on draft day that Saturday, I guess it was early, a little bit after 12 o'clock that Saturday when the Chargers drafted him. And he just, him and his dad flatly said, hey, we're not going to, play for the Chargers. At that time, I really didn't think he was going to get moved. I thought he was just going to stay a Charger.
Yeah.
And then a little while later, we hear that, he'd been traded to the Giants. And I was thinking to myself, what the hell? What are we doing here? I'm too young to remember the John Elway kind of a deal.
Right.
With him being in Stanford and not wanting to go to the Colts. But so not being able to talk off of that's the only real experience that I have. But if Eli's last name wasn't Manning, does that deal even go down? And I would say probably not. So this might not even have a whole lot of precedent. But for you to try to dictate, his dad even said, Caleb's always picked the teams he's wanted to play for.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's nice that, you like picking your teams, but, that's just not the way life is all the time. You don't always get to pick and choose,
Especially with the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, especially when it's a draft. And you're going to get paid a whole lot, money as well on top of that.
But because two people have done it in the past, in John Elway and Eli Manning, I could see it working out that way. But I don't like that they're able to. But because it's been done in the past, it is what it is type situation. But man, you can also take some pride in turning a franchise around.
Yeah, no doubt. And like if you do that with a franchise like say the Arizona Cardinals and you take them to the promised land, you'll be walking on water over there for as long as you live, basically.
Right.
Well, let's go to the phone lines real quick. We got Richard over in Lynn Haven. He wants to talk about Caleb Williams. We got a couple minutes. What do you got, Richard?
I actually disagree with you guys about whether Caleb Williams should play any card he has if he can. Why shouldn't he? He's not a member of the NFL. They're not looking out for him. You just said a little while ago that a lot has to do with which team you go to. You go to a dysfunctional organization. Think back to David Carr back in the day. He went to the Houston team. He got beat up, never panned out. Number one draft choice.
Right.
It happens all the time. People go to a team that's totally dysfunctional, bad coach, bad ownership, whatever. I think he should play any card he has. He's got a choice. He doesn't have to go to the NFL next year. He can go if he's got 3 years since high school, but if he'd rather, I heard he's making $3 million this year in NIL money with his commercials, maybe more.
Gotta be more.
I'm sure USC will up the ante. To me, it's smart of him if he can avoid a bad situation. We're talking about his lifetime. He could wind up with a Joe Burrow contract, or he could wind up getting killed with a bad offensive line with a bad team. I think
look at Joe Burrow, though. I mean, speaking of Joe Burrow, who got the bag, he goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Cincinnati Bengals have not been a franchise that, wow people by any stretch of the imagination, at least since Boomer Esiason's been gone. And, I love the take as well, and I would rather see him go back to college than try to dictate where he's going to go in the NFL. However, one of the things that I mentioned earlier was if these guys are, because John Elway and Eli has done it before, then whatever Caleb Williams, I agree with you to the extent of use your card. If you've got the card, if you've earned the card, then use it however you see fit.
And by the way, in basketball, the players have power. They do this all the time.
Yeah,
they also have guaranteed contracts, too.
And we all hate it, don't we? Which is irrelevant that we hate it.
You know what? If I'm a player, I'm going to do what's best for me until I sign that contract, and then I'm part of the team or part of the NFL. But until he's got choices. Why shouldn't he make the choice?
Yeah, I agree with you. Some good points there, Richard. Great stuff. My only concern would be if he comes back next year, of course you can do that, but then what if you go out there and shred your knee and you get injured? Now you might lose all that opportunity to make that money in the NFL as well.
And making $3 million or whatever it is, $5 million in NIL money in college, I'm sure he's going to be well insured.
Oh, I would hope that, he would be doing something smart like that. But, hey, we got to take off because we got to get Tim Braddock on here on the phone, Richard. We appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yeah, great stuff as always there from Richard.
Yeah, no doubt, Richard. Thanks for calling. And we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back with Tim Braddock from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle with the Real Fishing Report.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins.
Tonight, we're going under the lights. It's the 2-0 Mosley Dolphins at the 0-1 Arnold Marlins. Join David and Kyle for live play-by-play.
Touchdown, Dolphins. Dave, I would say that's pretty dynamic.
Coverage starts at 6:45, kickoff at 7. The Dolphins at the Marlins coming up tonight on your home for the Mosley Dolphins, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. A variety of mostly sunshine and a chance of thunderstorms the rest of the day with a wind out of the west-southwest at 11 miles per hour and 88. Tonight, look for possible thunderstorms and clear skies with a temperature near 76. Tomorrow, high around 88 and possible thunderstorms in the morning, but otherwise sunshine. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new Kia and see why everyone is talking about Kia. The new SUV family has movement that inspires, and we invite you to test drive the new 2023 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, and the Telluride. You can command the road in a sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a brand new 2023 Kia Rio, Forte, K5, or Stinger, and discover the all-new vehicle at Bill Bird Kia for you and your family. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City today, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. Peace of mind you can trust at your local community dealer. Bill Bird Kia, 15th Street, Panama City.
The Real Fishing Report. It's expert insider information from Tim at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. What's biting? What bait to use? Where to cast? And the Real Fishing Report. On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We are the Afternoon Underdogs. I am Caveman Rick. I'm sitting here by myself now as David Hayes is moving on to do some other things, working on the Mosley-Arnold game today. But I got Bone Crusher here in the booth, over in front of me, working the board. So we'll might be talking here later on. But right now, it's Friday. It's 4:20. If you know what time it is, it's time for Tim Braddock in the Real Fishing Report from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Tim's calling in today. He's not in studio, but Tim, how's it going this fine Friday?
Oh, doing well. Can you hear me fine?
Oh, we can hear you great, buddy.
Beautiful. We've had a great week of fishing, and excited about the report today.
Seen some photos.
Let's jump right. Yeah, Facebook. We put a few out there so people can see a few of the catches. But just a great week overall. Obviously, it's been warm, but it's not been dog hot like it was the previous 3 weeks. So I don't know if you can call this a cool off, but we definitely have cooler weather than what was here.
It's not the dog days anymore.
It's nice. Yeah, I think we're very fortunate to be past the dog days. So I am literally broadcasting from Studio F-150 today.
Right on.
I was planning. I hate you're all by yourself. I was planning on being in studio, but we had such a good day on the water offshore that here we are, running behind and being able to do this remotely.
No worries. That's great then. That's telling the folks out there to get out there and get their lines wet, because obviously there's fish out there to catch right now.
That's it. And that's pretty much what we're going to report on today is just great fish activity in every area of fishing. And I've been fortunate to surf fish this week. I've been fortunate to fish in the bay, inshore some, and then I've been fortunate to fish offshore this week. And it's just been very active everywhere. And we're hearing those same reports through the people that come into the shop and to the captains that we speak with regularly as well. So very positive sign. If you're looking to get out and fish this weekend, the weather's looking favorable for that as well, and possible slight chance of storms here and there, but nothing that would prohibit folks from being able to get out and fish this week. So let's talk about kind of the different areas of fishing. Typically when customers come into the shop, if they're not from the area, they're usually wondering, where do I go fish? And that's a pretty difficult question to answer just to give one spot. So we usually have to, try to find out, do they have kids? Are they wanting to simply fish from the shore? Do they have a boat? There's a criteria that we work through to find out how to direct them on where they want to go fish. But my pick this week or this weekend, if anyone was going to go, would be in the jetties. The jetties have been a consistent producer. It's an area that's accessible for just about anybody. Particularly if you can get out and you're mobile enough to be able to fish from the rocks on the jetty. There's still a lot of good fish activity coming in and out of the pass. So I would recommend this weekend. Somebody's obviously snapper's high on the list for a lot of people. Red snapper, in particular, because it's in season.
We're in phase
but if
2.
For phase 2, week number 2. But if you're unable to jump on a boat, don't let that deter you. There's still some great fish to be had. Fishing, particularly from the jetties.
And what kind of species
over the next couple weeks
are they catching over there off the jetties?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a myriad of species. You can catch bobos, also known more properly as bonita or lesser tuna. You can catch those off of different types of casting artificial lures that we have in shop, and they tend to like something right now that's in that. We have these stick baits called Deadly Dicks. We also carry Uzuri suspended twitch, so it sits in the middle, and you wrap that or rip that lure back to you through the water. So you also can catch redfish right now still at the jetties. Those tend to be a little bit deeper. We have a jig called a squirm jig, which is simply a skirted worm jig, so we call it squirm. And that squirm jig, you want to work it. It has anywhere from a 1 ounce to 1.5 ounce jig head, and you want to work it from the bottom of the water column, kind of pull it to you up through the top. So redfish and bonita. There's also some mangrove snapper in the rocks. So
tasty.
Those are probably the most finicky. Yeah, there's a lot of species that you can catch from the jetties. So.
Right on. So what do you want to go on to next then? Is something offshore or inshore? Or?
Yeah, we'll cover inshore. The biggest highlight inshore is we are starting to see flounder.
Nice.
Show up in pretty good numbers. And
is that them exiting like the far back portions of the bay, making their way towards the front of the bay and then out through the pass, like as they normally do when it starts getting cooler out?
There you go, this time of year. And so there is a closure for flounder season coming up again this year. And so, historically, flounder's kind of been focused on in really that cool fall weather like you're talking about, kind of mid to late October. But unfortunately this year, this is our second year of flounder closure. But right now is the time to be able to get out and go. Bull minnows are probably the most requested item. We do stock some minnows at the shop. We've multiple people coming in wanting bull minnows for to be able to catch the flounder.
What about people getting lights and gigs and going out at night?
Oh yeah. So the underwater LEDs and the 3 or 4 prong gigs are very popular this time of year. You can wade out in water that's 2 to about 4 foot deep, and be able to jig. 4 foot deep, starting to get a little bit deep. A lot of times people carry a backpack, to be able to put their flounder in.
Right.
Those Yeti backpack coolers work fantastic for that kind of, to be able to hold your flounder. So flounder does close October the 15th. October the 15th, and it'll remain closed through November the 30th. So if you never flounder fish, right now is the time to go. So we talked about live bait. We talked about gigging flounder. Also, another great way to catch flounder is on the artificial gulp swim mullets. And so swim mullets are 3 to 4 inches, depending on which size you buy. The white swim mullet seems to be the most solid or most productive choice. I was able to catch one on a gulp shrimp 2 nights ago. simply sitting there jigging in an area where we had caught multiple species of fish, but was able to land a keeper flounder.
Nice.
Off of Gulp shrimp, artificial shrimp.
That's something I've been missing, is catching some of those doormat-sized flounder. Those are nice fish to catch, and they're great to eat too when you get to keep them.
They're delicious, and just a different fight, different feel.
Yeah, you can definitely tell a lot of times when you have one on your line by the way it pulls and the feel that you have on your line and on your rod.
Yeah, so you obviously are fishermen and have fish for them as well. I personally, whenever I switch the fish for flounder, I like using a small J hook, particularly in like a number 1 or up to a 1/0 size. So I usually am a big circle hook fan, but I find that you need to be able to actually set that hook when that flounder bite is very finicky too, or very light up front. And then when you have that feel, that bite, set the hook, and then at that point you have a better hook set to be able to secure that flounder. So.
And it is a different bite because of the way the anatomy of the fish, the way it lays on the bottom, and the way the mouth is associated with the bottom.
Yeah, I think sometimes we might take it for granted that we know what a flounder is and where it lives, but there may be someone out there listening that has no clue, and they may not even have a care, but the flounder, they have both their eyeballs sit on top of their head, so they're obviously a flat fish, so it looks like, as Caveman Enriquez said, it looks kind of like a doormat.
Yeah, no doubt.
Whenever you pull them in, the slang for them are flatties. So
I've also found if you're fishing like around like ledges and drop-offs or like around a seawall, they like to hang around like right at those edges where the seawall meets the bottom. So if you have areas like that you can fish, I've had better luck in areas like that as opposed to like more open areas.
That's a great point, Rick. So the seawalls tend to be where we're finding most of them right now, kind of moving through those flats up by structured areas, right? So those would include large areas of riffraff or rocks, as well as, the concrete seawalls. That's where they tend to be. And they
even along pilings, like for like a big structure, like a bridge or a big dock or something like that.
Yeah, we tend to find them. They like that camouflage, so they tend to be, in the sandy areas, and like to be hiding, obviously flat down or on their bellies, if you would, and then you're able to catch them. So, and let's talk a little bit about offshore. That's where we're today. We spent a good amount of time out towards the west a little bit, and caught a limited snapper, which I find that most people will easily be able to do. They were no respecter of food today. Caught them on frozen cigar minnows, live cigar minnows, strip bonita. We caught them on a myriad of baits today. Probably the most unique. Trigger's in season 2, which is a nice, quote unquote, bycatch, if you would.
They're tasty. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, they're delicious, and that's. I gave my friends that we were with. I gave them the snapper, red snapper. And I took the trigger home this evening to be able to cook over the weekend. So it's one of my favorites, just due to its texture and how sweet the meat is. So offshore, we've had great reports of snapper bite. We are starting to see some slowdown in other types of fishing. The cobia seems to be slowing down considerably. We would suspect that to continue throughout the winter months. Something that's going to be interesting. We're going to cover a segment on it in October, but sword fishing ought to be picking up over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that'll be something to look forward to as well.
Well, right on. So real quick before we let you go here, you want to give us a quick synopsis of your fishing report here this week?
Yeah, let's, we can cover or give a summary of the fishing report this week. So it's week number 2, yes, for college football, but also for the second phase of red snapper fishing for recreational boat. Seas forecast is favorable this weekend. If you've never tried to use jigs while bottom fishing, come by Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle and check out our full lineup of custom strictly business jigs. You can target species from vermilion snapper to king mackerel using the slow pitch jigs we have available in stock. Inshore fishing is also starting to get great with live bait plenteous. Large trout are still voraciously feeding, particularly late afternoon and early evening. A live pokey on a free line is all that is needed to catch a large gator trout.
Awesome. I love catching those gator trout.
Yeah, I hope you're able to get out this week, Rick. I don't know if you were able to fish this week. But,
no, unfortunately, I was not. I need to get out there more, man. Hopefully, with the cooling down weather and stuff getting a little easier in life, I might be able to get out there, a little bit more often. That's the plan, anyway.
Yeah, probably the I would say the most unique thing we saw today was Bill Dance himself.
No doubt, huh?
And we were probably maybe 100 feet at most from his boat, and he just caught a redfish and was releasing it.
Was he wearing his Tennessee hat?
He was wearing his Tennessee hat.
There you go.
Had a emerald green fishing shirt on, and it was, you could see that redfish just, clear as a bell against that emerald green shirt. But yeah, he was out there with his fishing crew, his captain, and had the film crew with him today. So that was kind of neat to be able to see him in action, if you would, while we were coming through Destin.
Yeah, and that's not normally his cup of tea. He's normally a largemouth bass fisherman, having his show that's been on as long as I can remember. I remember watching him back when I was, 6, 7 years old. So that guy's been around for a very, very long time, very well known in the fishing community. So that's pretty outstanding getting to see him.
Yeah, that was. Yep. Well, I hope those that are listening are able to get out and go fishing this weekend and turn those handles.
Right on.
Hard
Get
to
out.
catch the fish. You don't turn those handles.
No doubt. Well, get out there and get your lines wet. Get offshore, inshore, or go to the jetties like Tim was saying, or even off the surf. Everything's popping off right now, according to him. If you need some bait, tackle, anything, or even some advice, head on down to Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Talk to Tim or the rest of his crew down there, and they'll get you set up so you guys can have a great day on the water. Thanks again, Tim, for sharing us some of your time, like always on Friday, man. We appreciate it as always. Before we get on to this next segment, now we're going to talk about our race to Talladega. Every day now we've been doing a segment where in the morning on the James Hale Show we give out a special word, and if you call in today with the name we're about to give out, that's going to start your qualifying time, and the 3 fastest qualifying times are going to win a pair of tickets to Daytona. So if Blake Blauser's ready out there, get your phone ready, 850-215-6290. You're on the clock. You're on the track to start your lap time.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you're back with the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And remember that we're your home for high school football. It's back. We're your exclusive home for Mosley Dolphin football. Listen to every game right here with play-by-play by our own David Hayes and Kyle Wright. Mosley Dolphin football is presented by Panama City Toyota, Orthopedic Specialist, Ellis Agency Insurance, Barbarito Southwestern Grill and Cantina, Culligan Water, Chapman Wealth Management, and Gulf Coast Aquarium, your authorized CCAM and ZooMed dealer. So right now on the phone, we have, Blake Blosser. I believe I pronounced his name a little wrong before we went to the break. Blake Blosser's on the phone, just calling in. How's it going, Blake?
Doing good, buddy. How are you?
Excellent. John, what kind of time do we got here for Blake?
6.9 seconds.
6.9 seconds. That's pretty darn fast there. What's the fastest time we have at the moment? Do you know?
The leader is Matthew with 5 seconds, so that's going to put Blake in second place so far.
Second place, Blake. So that's putting you right now in with getting a pair of those tickets. How does that make you feel?
Amazing, dude. So excited about it.
And have you been to any NASCAR races before in the past?
No, sir, I haven't. I'm really excited to go, though.
Really, right on. So have you been a NASCAR fan your whole life, or is this something you're just kind of getting into now?
Just starting to get into it. I'm actually friends with a guy you had on your show a couple weeks ago, Trey Rooks. And they called me from Daytona, and I ain't gonna lie, I've been kind of giddy about getting a ticket.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. That hopefully that your number's going to stay, and you'll have the chance of getting those tickets. Who's your favorite NASCAR driver?
The Ducks Unlimited car right now that Trey showed me.
That's pretty cool. They didn't even know they actually had a car, so that's pretty neat. I'm not like the hugest NASCAR fan. I don't get a chance to watch a lot of that. So, keep listening, man. Hopefully nobody else will, beat you those first 2 times, and you'll run away with a pair of those tickets here pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome, Blake. All right, that was Blake Blosser, man, with the time of 6.9 seconds. Pretty time.
Quick correction. It's actually James in first place, not Matthew. Matthew never qualified.
Okay.
Call us back. So,
but we still have James then.
Yeah,
still
James
5
James
seconds.
is listening. I don't want him to sweat that out.
Okay, right on.
James with 5.
We apologize, James.
6.9. So,
definitely apologize with that. That's not something that we wouldn't have anybody worrying about that, especially if they took the time to call in, sweating it, thinking they're not going to get their tickets. Definitely not something we want to do. So, let's in this segment right here, we'll talk a little bit about some baseball stuff. We got a few things just to talk about, not a whole lot. The Braves are playing the Pirates. They're not airing tonight or Sunday. I'm guessing Sunday there's going to be football. I don't know if we're going to have football on tonight or if that's the reason why they won't be on this evening. But Saturday's game will be on. Let's see. Today, some news. We got Mookie Betts. He's going to be out for a series against the Nationals with a foot injury after fouling a ball off his foot. The Dodgers as well are also saying that Walker Buehler will not make a return this year after undergoing Tommy John surgery. So the focus is going to be for him to start the beginning of next season and hopefully have a really good next year instead of trying to force his way back in late this year and then maybe having a setback or something to that effect. Bo Bichette is back in the lineup for the Blue Jays against the Royals after a stint on the IL for a quadricep that he had going on. Shohei Ohtani looks like he might be close for a return to the Angels. He's out with a right oblique strain, and that's been going on just for a little while. But that's something that you probably want to take it easy on too, or he should anyways, depending on what he's going to end up doing. Just to make sure that he's not injuring himself or getting himself in any kind of situation that he's not going to be too much into. something interesting that happened for me that I saw yesterday, being a Phillies fan, is that Bryce Harper shaved off his beard. And I'm a beard guy myself. So seeing him without his beard was kind of shocking, actually. Kind of like seeing myself without my beard, something you're not used to. So that's going to be something getting used to, watching, some games and seeing the different look. Hopefully it won't hurt his game at all. We've in the past stories, Greek mythology, Samson cut his hair, and when he cut his hair, what happened to him? He lost all of his super strength and superpowers.
Is that why you grew your beard back? You got your powers again?
I was hoping so. I don't know how much life changed for me when I did that, but you just never know. So I'm just hoping that doing something like that in the middle of season is not going to give him some kind of bad mojo. What do you think, John? You're a baseball guy.
Did you notice any changes in your life right after you shaved, or?
Well, I kind of shaved because I was
women
trying.
Stop clenching their purses when they walked by you?
No, actually, it was actually kind of crazy too, because after I shaved, my grandkids really didn't recognize me because they never see me without the beard, so they were looking at me kind of sideways, like, what? Who are you? But outside of that, it's kind of good, I guess, to get a little fresh perspective sometimes. Sometimes, what do women do? They get a hair up their rear and all of a sudden change a haircut or a hairdo or color their hair or something.
Cut it all
like
off.
That. Yeah, so everybody's got their way of doing stuff different. So that's just something that, kind of caught my attention. I saw about that. It kind of gave me some pause. Kind of thought about myself for a little bit, seeing Bryce with that. And so, like I said, me being a Phillies fan, I'm cautiously optimistic. If things start going for the worse, I'm going to be maybe sending him a personal message and being like, dude, you probably need to grow that back.
Maybe you need to shave your beard off again and do what he did, kind of, be part of the team here.
No, I don't want to do that.
Get on board.
No, I'm good.
They need the mojo.
From what I've been hearing too, from most people, now that it's like maybe a little important to me now that I look better, with the beard than without. So I'll go with the beard. Got to make people happy, All right, well, that's all I got pretty much on the baseball stuff for the time being. I want to talk a little bit about last night's game again. Dave kind of hinted on something a little bit that kind of stuck with me a little bit that I really didn't like a whole lot. And that was when Mike Tirico had brought up towards the end of the game last night that he thought maybe there should be an asterisk, applied to the game. I'm assuming that he's hinting at that because of the fact that there was no Travis Kelce. That Chris Jones wasn't, playing in the game either. But I mean, that's football. I mean, there's always going to be people missing in games. That's a fact of the game. And just because a couple of the big name guys are missing from the defending Super Bowl champs, I don't see why an asterisk needs to be put there. I've also heard that I believe he feels the same way about the NFC Championship game when the Eagles took out two of the San Francisco 49ers quarterbacks. I mean, sure, yeah, you don't have a viable option at quarterback to play in the game. However, it's part of the game. It's what happens. You got to be prepared. How many times do we see in baseball games where the bullpen and, all the pitching staff gets used up and then they're using an outfielder or some random infielder to pitch to regular Major League Baseball games? There's not an asterisk in those games. There's nobody saying that there should be for any of those games. So why in this case or this situation? And he's really not even the color guy. He's just supposed to be calling the play-by-play guy, play-by-play stuff. So for him to throw in his 2 cents or his opinion there, I don't know how much it was warranted. But I really just didn't like that. It wasn't my cup of tea. Also, another thing I wasn't too down with last night, and me and Dave didn't talk about this, was Kansas City's offensive line. They were setting up in the backfield, and there was actually some movement pre-snap that the referees weren't calling during this game. And that kind of gave me some pause. I can't remember the name of the NFL former official that was in the booth with the guys calling the game, but he was even calling that out and exclaiming, why isn't something being done, or why isn't there any flags being thrown here? Don't know if that's just, the NFL in a way wanting to say, hey, we want the Chiefs to actually be successful. If it was another team, a lesser team, a bottom feeder perhaps, if this was the Cardinals, say, or something, would they be getting the same leeway, or would they be throwing the flags on, these guys all the time? So that was something that kind of bothered me a lot. I think the Chiefs lost the game by 1 point. 1 point, and they had all these extra advantages. So had they not had these extra advantages, would the point spread been bigger, and had they not covered the spread potentially? So it kind of makes you wonder for all those people out there, like our ex-buddy, that used to be here with us, Miles Lashley, hashtag NFL rigged. You might be able to say that by looking at stuff like that, in a game. So not a big fan of that. Hopefully the NFL will clean that up before this weekend. I definitely don't want to see that in any other games this weekend. Just not something that, is conducive to good football, in my opinion. So another thing out of that game, Patrick Mahomes was talking about how he felt kind of embarrassed. And if you want to feel embarrassed after that game, that's fine. But it's one game, you can't win them all. You're going to have some problems sometimes, with some guys dropping balls bouncing off their hands. The one thing I would say, though, he didn't do like a Tom Brady. He didn't do maybe like an Aaron Rodgers. He didn't go to his teammates on the bench and yell and scream at them and tell them about how, let's go, we got to play better. So, and he owned up to it. He basically blamed himself, didn't blame the coaching staff either, when it could have easily went the other way, and he could have pointed the finger at somebody else. All right, so it looks like we got Matt on the line right now. Matt, what you got for us, Matt?
Okay, I'm agreeing with you 100%. Number 74, he jumped at least a half a dozen times, and in 2 or 3 key situations, when they scored their first touchdown, that should have been called back because he jumped early, and they got a third down. There was about a 20-yard pickup on a third down, and then they scored. I was watching that, and I was like, why aren't they calling that? I said, that's motion. He's getting an advantage of coming back. And I said, every time he's coming back, I said, and they're not calling. I'm like, is it some home cooking going on or what? But you are 100% correct on that. And I don't know why it wasn't addressed by the announcers, and at least at halftime somebody says, hey, let's go. Let's get on this motion over here early every time. Hey, that was terrible. And I'm glad that Detroit won because that was two. It was a couple of key situations where the guy, you could literally see that the movement was at least a half a second before the snap.
Yeah, I definitely would agree.
And if I'm seeing it from here and on a small TV, it's just. Like you say, there might be some kind of one-sidedness for the Chiefs, but I must say that Patrick Mahomes is still way behind the Tom Brady. He is not capable of doing what Tom is. Tom never had Gronk for several games, and I think, if I'm correct, he missed 2 Super Bowls that Brady had to play without him, and he still managed to win. So,
well, that's true, but he also, had the benefit too of knowing sometimes of what plays were being called and other things like that. And so far, we haven't heard anything like that coming out of the Chiefs camp. So,
true, but you have to have that all bundled together. But I'm still saying I don't think he's going to do that well this year. I'm surprised if they win 12 games this year. So yeah. I'm looking at 5 losses.
I'm with you on the Chiefs probably taking a step back this year. Obviously, all the success they've had over the course of the last 5 years is going to be hard to keep sustaining that. They obviously maybe can.
Also, you're correct. And is this going to be the start of Kelsey and his injuries? I mean. If he comes back early next week and he gets, somebody hits him early and hits him low and, messes up that knee and he's out for 2 or 3 months, I mean, what's that going to do to the whole, scheme of things?
Yeah, no doubt I'm with you on that, Matt. I appreciate the phone call, man. Thanks a lot. We're going to have to get out of here in a few moments for a hard break, but if you got anything else any other time, man, feel free to give us a call. Great stuff.
Okay, awesome. I'll be managing some of this refereeing because there was a lot of calls that have been questionable. I'm still mad about the Cincinnati when Mahomes ran out of bounds and they said it was legitimate, that was in the playoffs. No, the guy was holding up. He's 250 pounds and he can't stop on a dime.
Right on, guys. Well, good stuff,
see.
Matt. Like I said, give us a call some other time, man.
Okay.
Thanks for your opinion, man. As always, we're always, welcoming the phone calls. So that was Matt. He had some great stuff about last night's game. He agreed with me. Usually that doesn't happen. I'm kind of surprised by that because usually with my takes, a lot of people don't agree, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Looks like we're going to have to take a break now, but we'll be back with hour number 2 in just a few moments with the Afternoon Underdogs here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your official radio home for Auburn Tiger football. The tailgating, the crowds, the noise. All the excitement of Auburn football is back, and you can hear every game right here.
Tomorrow night, Auburn fans are staying up late as the Tigers travel to California for their first ever matchup with the California Golden Bears. Kickoff at 9:30. Listen live on your home for the Auburn Tigers, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. A variety of mostly sunshine and a chance of thunderstorms the rest of the day with a wind out of the west-southwest at 11 miles per hour and 88. Tonight, look for possible thunderstorms and clear skies with a temperature near 76. Tomorrow, a high around 88 and possible thunderstorms in the morning, but otherwise sunshine. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
If you spend any time at all in your yard, you're going to encounter fire ants.
We know they can ruin a party. That's why we're this area's experts at fire ant elimination.
As your certified top choice professional, we will rid your yard of these unwanted invaders. Brock Pest is so sure they'll get rid of fire ants that they offer a 1-year guarantee.
Enjoy your yard fire ant free. We guarantee it. Give us a call for your free consultation.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control, our family protecting yours since 1968.
We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins. WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. John. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Beach Care Services' 6th annual Dinner at the Beach Bonfire and Beach Party, presented by Panama City Toyota, is Tuesday, October 17th from 5 to 9 at Sharky's Beachfront Restaurant. This fun and family-friendly event features a delicious 3-course dinner, bonfire and beach party with live music by Sons of Saints, and a $5,000 cash raffle, a $2,000 jewelry set by Shimmering Seas, live auctions, and much more. Get tickets for the Beach Care Services annual Dinner at the Beach on Eventbrite.com or follow the link at ESPNPC.com.
You want a big-time sports show? Tune in for the Afternoon Underdogs.
We're live and local here.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
We need one more SEC team in there to shake things up.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back to hour number 2 here on the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. So it's Friday, it's 5 o'clock. It's the normal time. We have one of our normal contributors that we enjoy having on, Derek Tate. He's a contributor for Pro Football Network. Derek, how's it going today? It's fine Friday.
Oh, just still trying to process what we saw last night for the 2023 NFL season opener. The Lions with a 1-point victory. How about that?
No doubt. Real quick, what's your takeaways from last night's game?
So the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver position is completely up for grabs. And by grabs, Kadarius Toney didn't grab many of the passes thrown his way yesterday. So there's still a lot of potential with Kadarius Toney. If you wanted to buy low on Sky Moore, now is the perfect time after a 1 carry for 4 yards and 0 reception performance. But, this offense certainly does not look like itself without Travis Kelce in the lineup. So hopefully they get him back sooner than later. Detroit Lions, a gutty performance, kind of mirror Dan Campbell. And I was what I wanted to see was, one, how involved was Sam Laporta going to be? He caught all 5 targets yesterday. I think it was for 39 yards. So I really liked his sneaky debut and somebody that should be on your tight end radar. But then, the running back split, David Montgomery, seeing the majority of the work out of that backfield, and Jahmyr Gibbs looked great, but in limited work, similar to that of DeAndre Swift last year. So some fans that invested in DeAndre Swift are likely seeing deja vu when it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs being efficient but not getting as many touches as David Montgomery.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you totally on that. Kadarius Toney, I actually picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues on a flyer. Do you think that there's still value holding on to that guy and stashing him away for later, or do you think that's a guy that's pretty much a lost cause at this point?
No, I definitely think you keep him stashed away. One thing that I was very encouraged about was, one, he was open. On a lot of those throws that were sent his way, he was open. He just was unable to haul them in. Certainly, when you have a case of the dropsies, it can be something that kind of spirals, and that's kind of what happened for Kadarius Toney yesterday. Still has plenty of talent, and you got to be encouraged with how involved he was in the offense, considering he missed pretty much the entire preseason. So the fact that he was targeted and was involved is actually a very encouraging sign, and if he can fix the drops issue, I certainly think that he could emerge as the wide receiver that winds up in your starting lineup from this Kansas City offense.
Well, that's awesome. I guess I will hang on to him then. I had some questions about that. I didn't know if maybe I should try to make a move, so I appreciate the help on that. Let's see what we got here next. Any free agents? This would be on standard fantasy. I'm going to ask you some DFS stuff later on, but just in standard, season-long fantasy, would there be any undrafted free agents that you think people didn't pick up during their drafts that might be important to try to pick up before this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Denver Broncos backfield is going to be one to monitor. Sean Payton is going to play guys that he feel like can make an impact. And this undrafted free agent from Youngstown State, his name is Jaleel McLaughlin. I would say his pass-catching skill set and his efficiency as a runner, he's got a nice burst and juice and good feel for the position. And he had a great preseason, and he made the 53-man roster. So if Javonte Williams isn't 100%, or they plan to ease him back in, and, all that's in front of him is, Samaje Perine outside of that. But I think he offers probably the most dynamic pass-catching skill set out of this backfield, which could be useful in a Sean Payton offense. So sign me up for McLaughlin as like a really, 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 dart throw, but stash on my bench to see what his role is in week one.
Right on. I know you're big on the Bears backfield. Is Roschon Johnson another player that you might want to stash too for later on in the season?
Oh, goodness me. Of course. I am all about stashing away Roschon Johnson. I actually think he'll have a little bit of a role, more so than McLaughlin starting out. At least I feel confident in making that projection, strictly because I think he's a very good pass catcher and probably the best pass catching option on the Bears roster right now. And he's a very good pass protector, which means I think he is going to see some work on third down. But once you start seeing that he's as efficient on the ground and as explosive as Khalil Herbert, but he opens up the playbook more because he's a more consistent pass catcher and pass blocker, I definitely think I see Roschon Johnson's role expanding as the season progresses.
All right, cool. Here's a question for you. Besides the obvious picks of, say, the Cardinals and the Texans, what are a couple of other offenses that are pretty bad for the most part that other teams can, exploit through fantasy?
Yeah, I would say an offense to target if you're, streaming defenses or something like that. It's probably the Carolina Panthers. I like Bryce Young. I think he's going to have a nice NFL career. I like the pairing with Frank Reich. But right now, this offense is kind of thin at wide receiver as it is, and from my understanding, Adam Thielen and DJ Chark are a little bit banged up, which leaves Jonathan Mingo and a whole other cast of characters that I don't feel confident projecting for a high volume or a lot of production in 2023. So I think it's just going to be a slow start for that Carolina offense while Bryce Young gets acclimated to the NFL, and he doesn't have a whole ton of dynamic playmakers in that offense from what we've seen so far. So the Carolina offense might get off to a slow start.
Okay, and moving forward, last night obviously was kind of an outlier being the opening night of the NFL season. Everybody's rested. It's the first game. But going on now, as far as Thursday night games go, how comfortable are you with starting players in a regular, fantasy season-long format on Thursday night games as opposed to Sundays and Mondays?
Well, taking a look at next week, you got guys like Justin Jefferson, you got A.J. Brown, you got Jalen Hurts. You're starting all those guys on that Thursday night slate that I just mentioned, and probably even a couple other complimentary pieces like Devontae Smith. Certainly Alexander Madison's worth a look, and we'll see how that Philly backfield shakes out. But you best bet that I'm going to be starting a bunch of players in that Thursday night slate for this upcoming week. And honestly, you just want to build the best possible team that you had. If you like the matchup, I'm always an advocate of putting your best team out there and trying not to overthink it when it comes to, primetime games.
You just don't get too cute, I guess is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard a little more of a theory as opposed to the home teams having more of an advantage. So I tend to maybe try to play more like home team players as opposed to guys that are on the road when I'm looking at my lineups. But again, it just depends on the matchup. So good stuff there. Moving on to some DFS. Here's a quick question that pops up, especially for people that maybe are getting new to it. The 3-to-1 ratio as far as points to dollars seems to pretty much be a standard way of looking at possible scoring when you're trying to set a lineup up. Is that something that you typically go with when you're focusing on setting your lineups?
No, I'm just trying to target the stacks, and I do take into consideration things like obviously injury status and recent trends. But weather is another thing that actually kind of comes into play. I like to target games that are taking place inside, just because you have less volatility as far as things to expect that could potentially impact the performance on the field. But another thing that I really like to try to hone in on is where does Vegas think that the most points are going to be scored on a weekly basis? Now, Vegas doesn't always get it right, but generally, if you target some of those higher scoring games and you find a stack that you really like for this week, for example, like that, Los Angeles Chargers team, I want to stack someone like Justin Herbert with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. And on the flip side, Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that Miami Chargers game, and I want to be able to invest a good amount of my salary in those high scoring games.
Right on. Actually, moving on to that kind of segues into the next question that I had, and that was about stacks. So you basically kind of answered that. So two of the stacks you'd be looking at would be Chargers and Dolphins, both obviously in the same game. Outside of those two in the same games, do you have like maybe a super stack that you might be wanting to look at where somebody can get, a quarterback and two wide receivers, or a quarterback, wide receiver, running back all on the same team to score them like a ton of points this weekend?
Yeah, I truly think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Minnesota Vikings game is going to be a little bit higher scoring than people think. I understand it's popular to write off the Bucs, and I'm not the biggest Baker Mayfield believer myself, but they still have a really good receiver duo in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And the Vikings secondary, they allowed the second most passing yards in 2022. Only the Titans allowed more yards through the air last season. So the Vikings secondary had more leaks than a sinking boat last year. It was bad. Bad on the back end.
Right.
And the Vikings offense, no one on the Buccaneers defense has an answer for Justin Jefferson, just like most of the league. But they like to play a lot of man coverage when they bring a lot of their blitz packages. And I just see Justin Jefferson being an issue all game long for the Buccaneers secondary. So they're going to score points. The Bucs can't run the football. At least they couldn't last year. I don't think they're going to be able to run a whole lot in this one. So I think that Baker Mayfield's going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. So a stack of like Baker, Godwin, and Evans is actually one that I like for week one.
Right on, man. Appreciate that. Hopefully people will use that, maybe make them some money this weekend.
Yeah, go Bucs.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's see. Mark Andrews, he's listed as questionable right now with a quad injury. So if he's not, playing or you're not sure on him, what do you think, is it a good play to play Isaiah Likely?
Oh, I love Isaiah Likely if Mark Andrews is unable to go. We saw when Andrews was out of the lineup last year that Isaiah Likely is a very capable pass-catching option in this Ravens offense. And with more weapons on the outside to kind of draw attention away from the tight end position, I could see Likely doing a lot of damage.
You still think the targets will be there?
Well, the only thing that concerns me, and the reason why I didn't invest, we did a DFS podcast over at ProFootballNetwork.com. When I was someone mentioned Lamar Jackson as a great option, and I'm like, yeah, Lamar any given week could be, fantastic. But for the Sunday slate, he's the most expensive quarterback option going against the Houston Texans team that's starting C.J. Stroud in his NFL debut. The defense really struggled slowing down opposing rushing attacks. I think it's a big day for J.K. Dobbins. I just don't think that Lamar is going to have to air it out a whole lot against a Texans team that I think is going to struggle to score points in week number 1. But someone can still eat. And Isaiah Likely is like $3,000 on DraftKings. So if Mark Andrews is not a go, I'm all about putting my Isaiah Likely in my lineup.
Yeah, no doubt. And then you can use those extra funds to bolster, your lineup in other places too. So that's a good point. With there being such a, I don't know, good way of describing it, like non-faith in running backs this season, who are you looking at as being some good running backs that aren't like top tier, but somewhere in the middle that you can get good value looking at this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend in particular, if we're not talking like top-end talent, I think someone like Zach Charbonnet against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have a plethora of young players. In fact, I challenge most people, can you name a starting corner for the Los Angeles Rams? Most people can't. It's like Kobe Durant and Trey Tomlinson. They're going to have on the back end, they're going to have a lot of issues. But Zach Charbonnet in an offense where the Seattle Seahawks, I think, are going to be out in front of the Rams, who are without Cooper Kupp on the offensive end. I think it's going to be a rough day at the office for Los Angeles, who's going up to Seattle to play in that 12th-man environment. And I think both Kenneth Walker, who has been still kind of dealing with a groin injury, and Zach Charbonnet are going to see enough work this week in what a game script that's probably going to favor a lot of running the football for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm totally okay with going with Zach Charbonnet, and I think his upside with his big playability and capability as a pass catcher is something that I like. I think he's only at like $4,800 on DraftKings.
Right on. And to go with that as well, you're talking about the Seahawks. So you got Jackson Smith and Jigba going to be playing this weekend. Anything there? Do you think there's some value there?
So there's value there. I actually was hoping, not that I hope anybody gets injured, but it was going to clear up the situation a little bit if JSN was inactive for this contest while he's still recovering from a wrist injury. So then I was really all in on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett because they both had a lot of success last year against the Rams secondary that had Jalen Ramsey in it. Lockett in particular scored in both games they played against the Rams last season. So I still think that there's going to be enough to go around. If JSN is a full go, which it looks like he could be, it's going to be a little bit difficult to kind of project that target share in what could be a game that's already kind of handled by the time we get to the third quarter. So certainly there's value there. It's just not quite as predictable as I would like it. It feels like you're more throwing darts if JSN's a full go.
Right on. What I was thinking about, too, is the same thing. My crystal ball was looking kind of cloudy in that situation. That's why I was wanting to ask a little advice there. Speaking of throwing some darts, how about a few wide receivers that might be, high risk but huge reward this weekend?
You're talking like high risk. You're probably thinking, someone that you're having to spend a lot of money on, right? If we're still talking DFS, that is.
Yeah, definitely DFS.
Yeah, DJ Moore comes to mind, right? Because we don't know if Jair Alexander is going to play, but if he is one of the better corners in the National Football League. And, as much as I do believe in Justin Fields, we got to kind of wait and see what the passing game looks like. I do think Moore is going to be featured, but if he's featured against Jair Alexander in what could be a lower scoring game with all the injuries on the offensive side for the Green Bay Packers heading into this contest, it could be, like you said, kind of, high risk, but, high reward because DJ Moore is explosive, and I think that he can make plays even against some of the best corners in the NFL. So the upside's there, but the risk for a low scoring game is also there.
Right on. How about a few guys that are must starts and followed by a few guys that you're thinking are must sits this week?
So must starts, it's harder to find a better value in week one at the running back position than Raheem Mostert. just because there's so many injuries right now. And I know some of the guys started practicing again. I think Salvin Ahmed returned to practice, and Devin A. also been practicing this week. But, Raheem Mostert is heading into this season healthy. And he was pretty much the best ball carrier, most consistent ball carrier that the Dolphins had last year. And he's very familiar with the system. So I think he's a quality play against a Chargers run unit that wasn't incredibly stout last year in a high-scoring contest. So, yeah, Raheem Mostert's definitely one that I really like. But when you're kind of flipping the coin on the other side, guys that you want to stay away from, I really do not know what in the world to do with the backfield from the New York Jets. Like Dalvin Cook, almost shoulder injury. Breece Hall, first game back after tearing his ACL last season. Both of them are expected to be active, but we have no idea what the, game script's going to look like. We have no idea what the usage rate's going to be for either. And, it's Aaron Rodgers' first game under center. The Buffalo Bills aren't exactly a terrible defense. It's a kind of a tricky matchup. So I'm kind of just taking a wait-and-see approach with this Jets backfield.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Some questions, but I think after this weekend we might get some clarity there. After they get this, first game out of the way, see which way the offense is maybe leaning, or maybe the way Aaron Rodgers is leaning. Typically he's got his favorite type guys, and if you're on that list, usually you're going to get a lot more targets and a lot more looks than probably somebody else. So I definitely agree with that. How about we get you out maybe on this? But you got any sexy looking prop bets this week for Week 1?
Ooh. I think a lot of it always depends on where you're playing, but actually we just started this new promotion with Super Draft, and they specialize in prop games for NFL contests. And right now we have a Week 1 kind of like sign-up fee, or not fee, but like sign-up bonus. Basically you get a prop of Justin Jefferson only needing to gain 1 yard receiving in order for it to pay out on it. So you just go there, use our promo code PSN, and it'll add, I think, $20 to whatever deposits you make. I think 25 is like the minimum, but that is definitely one that I'm all about. So that's one that I highly encourage you to check out. And then check out the rest of the props. There's a bunch of other plays that are very intriguing for Week 1 with some of their lines.
So no doubt that's got to be your closest thing to a sure thing, right? And with that, 1 yard for Justin Jefferson. Come on. That's basically just one reception right there. He should get that within the first minute of of them getting the ball. You would think he's already going to have that.
The first snap.
Possibly the first snap. Yeah, I don't know if he maybe get the first ball going his way, but definitely I would think within the first drive or the first scripted handful of plays, they'll definitely be looking at him. So I might be definitely looking at that this weekend as well. Well, thanks again for your time, Derek. Always love Fridays, man, getting a chance to chat with you. Always great stuff. I'm definitely going to take your advice and use that to help my teams this weekend and maybe try to make a little money as well. Again, if you guys want to follow Derek Tate, get on Pro Football Network. Take a look there. He's got great content on regular fantasy as well as DFS. There's also great contributors on there as well. I've been subscribing myself, and it's just full of great content. Anytime you're wanting to find some stuff on fantasy, definitely check it out. Thanks again, Derek.
Absolutely. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the opening weekend of NFL football. Until next time, later says the Tater. See you.
Right on. Later says the Tater. Love that outline going on out. All right, we'll be leaving here in just a second to pay a couple of bills. When we return, we'll have RJ Starzovic, and we'll talk some NASCAR.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college football play here.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Friday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 76 with a calm wind coming out of the west at 2 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 88. In the afternoon and evening, a wind 10 to 15 miles per hour, sunny and a high around 88. For Sunday, sunshine and a high of 89. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
1, 2. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. Keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line. PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
The next evolution in sports talk radio. It's the Afternoon Underdogs.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Make it so. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you're back with the Afternoon Underdogs here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're also the home of the Inside Drive. We got some local information. We're talking college and pros, PGA, NHL, NFL, MLB, NCAA, and even sports betting. Is that even legal? We don't care. We'll do it here anyway. The most exciting new show in Northwest Florida broadcast, live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. It's the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So tune in there. Also got our own DJ Davey Crockett behind the glass working the board. Always a great show with Ryan, so check him out anytime you got the chance. Now we're going to go around the track with our NASCAR expert, I guess, if you will, RJ Starcevic. How's it going, RJ?
Going good, man. How are you?
I can't complain, man. It's a nice Friday. We've had a little, bad weather popping in now and again, but for the most part, it's pretty nice down here, man. What about where you're at?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. I'm down here in Tampa, Florida. It was a little rainy earlier, but the sun's peaked out as it starts to go down. But weather's been pretty solid down here. Can't complain either. Right on, man.
All right, well, let's get into it. So Kyle Larson, he grabbed the checkered flag at Darlington. So break down that first race for us.
Yeah, it's the first race of the playoffs for the NASCAR Cup Series, and it's at one of NASCAR's most historic tracks. And so a lot of the the old school fans, but even some more of the new fans have fallen in love with this racetrack. Darlington, it's old, it's got an old surface, so the cars are always slipping and sliding around, and it's a lot of drivers are going to say it's the toughest racetrack they'll ever race on. And so it was a pretty nice race, a smooth one to say, not too many incidents, but a lot of fun to watch the drivers kind of fight the cars and play some strategy when they would pit and when they wouldn't pit. Kevin Harvick, in his final season, he's retiring this year, was up towards the front towards the end of that race, but unfortunately came down pit road right as a caution came out. When you do that, when a caution comes out and you're about to come down pit road, if they close pit road, you get penalized for it. Unfortunately, they got dinged for that, sent all the way to the back, and Kyle Larson kind of put on a clinic towards the end of that race and ended up getting the win. So he punches his ticket to the next round of the playoffs already, which will be in just a few weeks, and looking to capture his second championship.
What do you think about Chris Buescher's hot streak? I mean, he came really close to winning that race. Do you think that's going to, keep the momentum going, or do you think, missing out just now is going to actually maybe hurt his confidence?
Yeah, I think they have a ton of momentum, going to the playoffs, and they got 3 wins, which I think the team did not expect. They're kind of, of a somewhat underdog for how they've been performing. An underdog as that nobody really thought they would get 3 victories this season before the playoffs have even started. So to be right there at the end of that race, getting the finish that they did and being able to be in the conversation for yet another victory at yet another different track, I think, while it is bumming to where they are, we've been getting these wins. Unfortunately, we didn't win this week. I think it's still a confidence booster as in, okay, we still have speed. and we got time to improve it to turn this into a race-winning car by the time we get to the championship.
So far in that last race, who in the playoffs didn't have the best day, and that might have just hurt their chances?
I would say guys like Michael McDowell for sure, who, in the number 34, he has obviously had his breakthrough win earlier in the season, kind of a big underdog as well, but has had a really consistent year. So they really just, the story of their year has been consistency. And when they couldn't be consistent, that's when they start to lose points. And so unfortunately they didn't have a great race at Darlington. They qualified well, but fell back during the race, got up in a few incidents, pit road issues, and ultimately ended up with a pretty bad finish. And then I'd say Kevin Harvick, just because of what could have been. They were running up towards the front, about to make a pass for the lead on the 45 of Tyler Reddick, and then just an unfortunate incident happens. Somebody spins right in front of him, and then they get penalized for it because they were trying to come down pit road and sent all the way to the back. And I think he wound up 19th when it could have been a race victory, his first of the year. So I think for them, for sure, they look at the next two tracks as some, strong tracks for Kevin Harvick and that team, but definitely a kind of a what could have been moment.
So any of those two drivers that you mentioned or anybody else that you can mention is in danger of missing the cut when they move to 12?
I would say, number one would definitely be Michael McDowell. Didn't have too many playoff points coming into the round, so he doesn't have much to fall back on. So those drivers that don't have many playoff points to fall back on, it's harder for them, to make ground, or to keep their ground, I should say. They can't really make mistakes. So I'd say Michael McDowell is one of them for sure. I look at Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who definitely wants to, step up the consistency in the playoffs for himself and that team. I look at, a Penske racing driver, Joey Logano, the defending champion, didn't have many playoff points coming into the playoffs either. And then Kevin Harvick, it's just been unfortunate luck, the last few playoffs for him, even ever since he won the championship in 2014. I, would definitely be nervous about that team as well.
Who do you think is the most surprising person in the top 10 right now, or is there a person?
I would say the most surprising to me that has kind of kept the consistency going would be somebody like William Byron. That has really, it's surprising to me how good they have been. Where I don't think anybody going into this year would have picked William Byron to be a championship favorite. And then more of like an underdog surprise, I say, would be Brad Keselowski. I mean, a lot of people probably canceled him out after they didn't have such a great year last year. He's the owner of the team with Chris Buescher. Him and Chris Buescher are teammates, but he's the owner of the team, and he hasn't yet gotten that win for his own team, but they've been incredibly consistent. He was still fast at Darlington. And I think it's definitely been surprising to see how much that team has surged just in the last 10 weeks.
So we had that Xfinity race at the Lady in Black. How did that go?
Yeah, the Xfinity race with Lady Black was good as usual. I think it's one of my favorite races of the year. The Xfinity cars are even more loose and crazied out than the Cup cars are. And so you saw a lot of Cup drivers ran that race in the Xfinity Series. A few names like Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin all competed. And it was Denny Hamlin getting the win. It was his first Xfinity race in 2 years. So kind of for those drivers to go down there, they don't learn much about, racing at the track because the cars are so different from Saturday to Sunday. But to be able to go get a win, I think for Denny Hamlin was definitely a good confidence booster kind of as you start to begin the playoffs.
All right, we're on the phone again with RJ Starcevic, contributor to NASCAR. Great stuff always from this guy. We're moving on. Next week, I guess, is Kansas, correct?
Yes, sir. Kansas Motor Speedway.
So who's the driver that has the most success there that's in the playoffs?
I would say just a few names would definitely be Kyle Busch. Has had a lot of success at Kansas. This will be his second time traveling there with his new organization, Richard Schroeder's Racing. So Kyle Busch is always a name that you have to watch when you go to Kansas. And then two other names would be Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. They fought for the win back in the spring when they raced here the first time this year. And now we come back in the playoffs, but we know Kyle Larson is still going to be strong, coming off a win, and Denny Hamlin is always strong at Kansas as well. So I would definitely watch those three drivers going into this weekend.
Right on. And what are the interesting facts about the track at Kansas that you can tell everybody?
It's a really cool track, has progressive banking, which means essentially, the corners are banked and you can run the top or the bottom and make about, equal amount of time depending on what, part of the race it is, how much wear you got in your tires. So it's a track that you could really choose any lane and run some fast laps in. So what does that mean? That means we could see cars 3 and 4 wide, battling for whatever position it is on restarts, because there's so many, you don't just have to follow somebody. You can go to any lane you would like. So I think that's probably the coolest part of the track to me, is that you can run anywhere you would like, and they, run races on the track during the day, under the lights at night. Regardless, definitely one of my favorite, probably most underrated tracks on the schedule.
Yeah, no doubt. When you can get those cars going 3 and 4 wide, it definitely makes it very, very interesting to see what kind of moves they can make. Also very dangerous, too. When they got them like that, that's when you see a lot of the more nastier crashes and whatnot. But then again, that's part of the intrigue. A lot of people watch, unfortunately, just for things like that. But, definitely makes it very, very exciting. When I like to watch, that's the kind of stuff I like to see, is when the cars are really up close like that, instead of like in a real, narrow kind of single file kind of a line where they're only passing like one car at a time. But when you can make those moves and you can jump 3-4 spots like in making one move, that's pretty cool in a race. So which driver do you think will make a statement on Sunday then?
I'm looking for Kevin Harvick to make a statement for Stewart-Haas Racing. I mean, they came out and made a speed statement at Darlington, but they didn't. They couldn't finish the job due to unfortunate circumstance. So I'm looking for Kevin Harvick and that team to make to make a statement. Stewart-Haas Racing, his organization's been under fire all year for their performance, but the 4-car of Kevin Harvick has been the only team of that 4-car organization to really have speed this year. So I'm looking for them to make a statement this weekend.
Is there anybody there, in the playoffs that actually has to do something this weekend to actually, hold pace? Or if they don't, they're actually probably going to, lose pace and maybe fall out?
Yeah, I would say like Michael McDowell.
McDowell again, okay.
Just because of how the race that they had at Darlington, it's kind of like with this playoff format, 3 races, and then, the next round is going to be 3 races. And we're just shortening the field. If you get off to a bad foot in the first race, you're just, catching up those next 2 races. So, while a 15th, 16th place finish for Michael McDowell may have been good during the season to keep the consistency going, to advance in the playoffs, that's not going to be what they need. If they keep, 15th, 16th place finish, it's going to keep them in the spot that they are. So they got to be looking for top 10s, ways to pick up speed, use strategy to get up in the field. Once you get off to a bad footing in the first race, it just sets the tone for the rest of your round, whether you got to catch up or be complacent.
Right on. All right, we'll get you out on this. Give us your 4 favorites for the Cup Series and Xfinity Series.
All right, so starting in the Xfinity Series, my 4 favorites, I would definitely lean towards somebody like Sheldon Creed to be fast this weekend in the 2-car, hopefully trying to capture that first win and lock himself in the Xfinity Series playoffs, which starts a little bit later on. I believe right after this race, actually. This will be the last race to get in. I'd look for John Hunter Nemechek, who just announced his future for next year. He'll be driving for Legacy Motor Club in the Cup Series. I'm looking for Sam Mayer, who's had a great year this year as well, and then somebody like Sammy Smith to pick up some of the slack that they've had the last few weeks. And then over in the Cup Series, I'm looking for Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. I'll throw in there 2 great drivers at Kansas. I'll throw in Kyle Busch because he's also very strong at Kansas as well. And then I'll throw in Chris Buescher because he's got all the momentum in the world right now. Didn't get the win last weekend, but why not this weekend? We've seen some surprise winners at Kansas, and at this point, it wouldn't even be much of a surprise. It'd be his 4th win of the year. So looking forward to seeing how the action unfolds in Kansas. Hopefully they put on a good show for the Kansas fans, because I know last night I'm sure people in Kansas weren't too happy with the result of that game against the Lions. So maybe we'll have some good racing this weekend and bring some cheers back to Kansas.
Yeah, no doubt, RJ. Thanks for giving us your time as always, man. Great stuff. Looking to probably hear from you again next week. Dave usually has you on Mondays, isn't that correct?
Yeah, usually on Mondays, but hey, Fridays work too. Fridays are fun.
That's cool too. So maybe we'll hear, some more for you on Monday, and you can tell us about what happened this weekend in Kansas. If not, maybe we can get you on Friday again when I'm in. But thanks again for your time. Always great stuff from RJ Starzovic.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me on.
Always, sir. All right, guys, again, that's RJ Starzovic. Definitely, listen to us here. He's always got great NASCAR stuff. And, hey, we can also take questions. So somebody wants to call in when he is on with us, or text in, or on Facebook. Let us know some of your questions, and we'll ask him, as well, and, see what he's got to say. So I guess we're going to take a break now and move on to the last segment here in just a few moments on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins.
Tonight, we're going under the lights. It's the 2-0 Mosley Dolphins at the 0-1 Arnold Marlins. Join David and Kyle for live play-by-play.
Touchdown, Dolphins. Dave, I would say that's pretty dynamic.
Coverage starts at 6:45, kickoff at 7. The Dolphins at the Marlins, coming up tonight on your home for the Mosley Dolphins, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs, with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Beach Care Services' 6th annual Dinner at the Beach Bonfire and Beach Party, presented by Penn Musty Toyota, is Tuesday, October 17th from 5 to 9 at Sharky's Beachfront Restaurant. This fun and family-friendly event features a delicious 3-course dinner, bonfire and beach party with live music by Sons of Saints, and a $5,000 cash raffle, a $2,000 jewelry set by Shimmering Seas, live auctions, and much more. Get tickets for the Beach Care Services annual Dinner at the Beach on Eventbrite.com or follow the link at ESPNPC.com.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you're back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm Caveman Rick along with Bone Crusher in the booth. There's a little Jimmy Buffett playing right there. Jimmy Buffett was lost to people this past week. It's kind of a big deal, especially around this area. You got the restaurant Margaritaville, got that community over there off of 79 and out there going towards Steelfield. So it's a big kind of a deal for people around here. I'm sure a lot of people were probably sad, but hey, I'm sure they probably had a few drinks too somewhere, around 5 o'clock.
Right? Exactly. It's been almost a week, and the white people are still not okay. Right? We did lose Jimmy Buffett, but his last words to his sister were "have fun," and I think we all should take note of that.
And was that something like he said like in his last dying breath, or is that just something that he said like maybe a couple weeks ago if he knew he wasn't doing well? Or?
The last conversation he had with his sister.
Really? That's pretty cool.
So I don't know if it was his last words, but they were the last words he had with his sister, and she's a big part of his organization and managing the restaurants and stuff.
Right on. Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, like I said, very important guy to a lot of people, especially like in this area, beach type communities, the music, the restaurants, the whole vibe and whatnot. Yeah. So it's a big deal. Losing a lot of people too, a lot lately too, a lot of famous, important people in a lot of people's lives. So just part of life though. What you're going to do. But just real quick before we move on, I just want to let you know that you guys are listening to the home of the Atlanta Braves here. The Atlanta Braves here games are sponsored by Bill Bird Kia, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, Stormore Portable Buildings, and Brock Pest Control. This Saturday, we got a game. It's going to be getting, I believe, joined in progress at 6:20 against the Pirates. I believe that's probably because some football will probably be on before then. So, stay tuned, listen to the football games, and then, hey, right after that, listen to your Atlanta Braves baseball. And again, this is our local segment here on Friday afternoons, brought to you by by Barbaritos. If you go down to Barbaritos, let them know the Afternoon Underdogs sent you guys. All these local games, too, by the way, I believe are at 7 o'clock p.m. tonight. So let's start out with Mariana. They're 2-0 going against 1-1 Bluntstown. South Walton, who's got a record of 1-1, is going to be taking on Port St. Joe, who's got a record of 1-0. Chipley, who's undefeated at 2-0, is going to be playing Holmes County with a record of 1-1. Graceville's winless, 0-1 right now. Going to be playing against Sneeds, who's undefeated, 1-0, and I believe that Sneeds team is supposed to be pretty darn good, so that should probably be a tough one for Graceville. We got Union City heading out to Walton. Union City's 1-0, and Walton's undefeated at 2-0. We got Baker, who's winless at 0-2, going to Bozeman Bucks, who's undefeated at 2-0. Franklin County, winless at 0-2, taking on Jay, undefeated 2-0. Freeport and Liberty County, both 0-2. So somebody's going to get their first win of the season in that game, so that should be good. Our very own David Hayes and Kyle Wright will be calling this one at Gavlac tonight here shortly, right after you get off the show. Coverage should begin at 6:30, but undefeated Mosley, who's 2-0, is going to be taking on 0-1 Arnold. Then moving on, we have Destin, undefeated with a record of 2-0, taking on North Bay Haven Academy, who's 1-1. Move down the screen, apologize. Hold on. Rocky Bayou, let me go back here. My screen just messed up here for a minute. Rocky Bayou Christian, 2-0, is going to be taking on Catondale or Cottondale. Contondale is 0-1, while Rocky Bayou is undefeated. Rutherford at 0-2 will be going to Fort Walton Beach, and they're taking on a record of 1-1. So that's all your high school football games. Of course, Dave on Monday will probably give you all these scores and records on these games, so you guys can be up to date on all the local sports in our area, which is always a great thing. Go out there and support these kids playing. If you got the time this evening, go out, buy a ticket, get you a hot dog, get you a soda, and contribute to local sports in your area. All right, so now that we're in the last segment, we got I think it's about 10 or 12 minutes. Got lots of stuff that we can still talk about. I want to talk about our picks that me and John have to do, actually. John, you ready to do some picks before we forget?
Maybe we can get Travis in on some picks.
Okay, Travis wants to maybe...
Well, he actually called in. He wants to send a message to Caveman Rick.
All right, well, Travis, what you got for us here real quick, bud?
Hey, man, I just wanted to congratulate you on getting the spotlight while David's gone on Friday.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. It's important to me, something I like doing. I appreciate the fact that Randy and Dave and everybody here's got the confidence in me to come in and fill in for them. It's definitely something that I want to make him proud. It's big shoes that I'm filling in here for Dave right now.
You need to get Randy to get you your own show, The Cave.
That'd be kind of nice, man. I wouldn't mind doing that. Something that, once I kind of got into doing this a little bit, just, for fun, I realized it's something I really enjoy doing. Something that I've been told I'm, fairly decent at best, or maybe better than that. I don't know. I'm kind of a humble person, so I don't want to, put too much shine on myself. But it's definitely something I like to do. And, hey, if it's a career for me in the future and I can make some dough doing it, I would not mind.
Oh yeah,
and,
and like I said, your name is it fits in perfect with a name of the show.
Right on, man. All right, so let's do some picks here before we run out of time, because me and Bone Crusher definitely want to make sure we get our picks in so we can stay and compete with everybody else. The first game, and you can stay on with us too if you want to make a quick pick as well. We got number 10 Notre Dame taking on NC State, 7.5 points. Favorite Notre Dame is, and a spread of 51 points. Who do you got, John?
Rudy, Notre Dame.
Rudy was offsides, if you didn't know. All right, so John's taking Notre Dame. For me, I don't want to say this is a tough one. NC State can sometimes do something at home. They're actually a pretty decent team at home historically, I'm pretty sure. But Notre Dame, being the pedigree of what they are, I think I'll go with Notre Dame in this game. What about you, Travis?
I got Sam Hartman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish on this one. I think they're gonna go through with it.
Right on. I like I said, I totally agree with that. All right, moving on. Second game, we have Nebraska taking on Colorado. Colorado's giving up 3.5 points with an over and under of 55.5. What do you got, Travis?
I think Colorado is going to get that done as well. I think the hype is going to continue, and Deion's going to roll on.
What about you, John?
Prime time, man. I'm loving it.
See, this is where I'm going to differ, and I'm not going to take Colorado. I'm actually going to go with Matt Rule in Nebraska. I think there's a lot of hype on Colorado right now. It was one game last week. I mean, there isn't really any preseason in college football, right? So it was one game. I don't believe yet. You're going to have to show me more. I lived in the state of Missouri, the show me state, for a little while. I need more than one game.
Well, let me ask you a question, Caveman Rick, about Deion Sanders as the coach. What are you seeing? Is he a great X's and O's coach, or is he a motivator?
No.
Where is his success coming from as a coach?
Deion Sanders is not an X's and O's coach in my book. He's more of an architect, more of a CEO. He's got the right people around him. He's a hype man, like Flavor Flav was, for Public Enemy, He's getting the name out there. He's getting the attention. He can definitely go out there and recruit. He can definitely go out there and, run his mouth and get people to follow, his lead. But that's not what it's all about, He's going to get the attention. He's going to make a name for himself. I'm sure he's going to do some winning. Now, whether or not that translates into winning a national championship here down the road or not remains to be seen. But at this moment right now, it's a lot of flash in the pan, and I want to see a lot more before I believe.
Right.
So let's move on real quick so we can get through all these. Next one, we got Ole Miss, who's ranked 20th, going against number 24, Tulane. Tulane's giving up 7.5 points with a 65-point over and under.
I'm going to go. I lived right there in New Orleans for a couple of years, so I got to pull for Tulane here.
Tulane and Green Wave, right on. What about you, Travis?
Who's Lane Kissin's quarterback now?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'd have to look that up.
Tulane.
I was going to tell you Tulane anyways. The Green Wave's been playing pretty good. They did well at the end of last season. They won this past week. I like Tulane, man, and they're at home too on top of that, and they have great uniforms. I like that color scheme.
Yeah.
All right, so we got number 3, Texas A&M going to Miami. Texas A&M's a 4.5-point favorite, and the over and under set at 51.5 points. What do you got, Travis?
As a Florida fan, I cannot pick Miami because I don't want them to be considered better than Florida. So I'm going with Texas A&M.
Yeah, what about you, John?
Hurricanes.
I'm actually going to take Texas A&M in this one on the road. They are ranked. That doesn't really matter. Jimbo Fisher's been ranked plenty of times before. But really, I think this team they need to produce this year. If something good doesn't happen this year, I don't see how Jimbo Fisher's seat can't already be any hotter than it already is. So that's an easy one for me. Moving on, our 5th game, we got Cincinnati going to Pittsburgh. Let's see, Pittsburgh's giving up 7.5 points with an over and under of 47. What do you got, John?
Too close to call for me.
So you're just not going to pick one?
I mean, it's going to go either way. It's going to come down to about a field goal. It's going to be a very close game.
Me, I'm taking Pitt at home. I think Pittsburgh at home's a good pick. That's just the only thing I got to go on. What about you, Travis?
Knowing Emory Jones and what he does and all that, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh because I know Emory Jones he always wets the bed at some point, and he's going to do it on this.
Right on, I feel you. This is going to be one of the bigger games of the weekend. We got number 11 Texas taking on number 3 Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's giving up only 7 points, and we got an over and under of 54.5 points. What you got, John?
I've never said this before in my life, but Roll Tide.
Got the Ric Flair going on. What about you, Travis?
This one's going to be really, really hard to call. Texas has got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder from last year. Quinn Ewers is going to be ready to go. I'm going to take Texas.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if Ewers played that whole game last year, I think it ends differently. In fact, depending on how this season goes, I think this might be Nick Saban's last season at Alabama. He's already doing the Pat McAfee show now, I believe, on every Thursday. So I think he might even be setting the stage to his career after football. So he's either going to walk away, as a winner this season with a national championship and going out in the spotlight, or I think, he doesn't, and he just walks away and says I'm done and moves on to other pastures.
I agree.
All right, let's see. So let's move on to Arizona at Mississippi State. Let's see. Mississippi State's giving up 10.5, and it's a 60-point over and under.
I think Mississippi State's got that one.
I agree.
They get Mississippi State. I'm actually going with Arizona this one on the road. Mississippi State, I don't know, ever since, Mike Leach left, that team's been kind of, I don't know, one of those teams are not that very consistent, I guess, week to week. So just for that reason alone, I want to go with the road team and take Arizona. All right, move on to the 8th game we have here. Number 19 taking on Washington State, Wazoo. Let's see, Wisconsin's giving up 6.5 points and a over and under of 58.5. I'll start this one. Easy for me. I think I'll take Wisconsin.
Yeah, I got Wisconsin too.
What about you, John?
Badgers.
Wisconsin Badgers. All right, let's see. Moving on. This should be another good one here. You got Auburn at Cal. Cal's getting 6.5 points and over and under of 55.
Ooh, late game. I've been sitting here thinking on how, Auburn's going to get their rest and, all that kind of stuff to play till 2:30 in the morning. I'm going to go with California.
I'm going Auburn. I think Auburn's going to be a surprising team this year. I think they're actually going to make a little bit of noise. They might actually have a big win over Jordan Hare. There's some crazy stuff that happens. I think they played Georgia at home this year. So just look for some crazy stuff to happen maybe this year.
It's their first ever meeting between Cal and the Tigers. So
not surprised just because of the distance probably between the two. But who you got, John?
I'm going to go with the Tigers. We're the home of the Tigers.
Right on. There you go.
I pull for my favorites.
Where do you live close to?
Well,
Alabama.
Yeah.
So right on. Good pick. All right. So we got 2 states next. Oklahoma State, Arizona State. Arizona State's giving up 3.5. So over under 53. Who we got? Oklahoma for John. What about you, Travis?
I'm going to take Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, I think OK State, man, the Fighting Mike Gundys, they're men. I think they'll take Arizona State out actually pretty easily. And the spread there only being 3.5 points, I thought was a little weird there. I thought it might be a little bit wider. All right, so now we got some NFL games. This is more of my cup of tea. Well, first one we really can't do. I know I picked the Lions, so I was right yesterday. Did you do a pick, John, on the Lions and Chiefs before last night's game?
I have never picked the Lions ever.
So you're trying to say you would have went with the Chiefs and you would have lost.
Right.
So let's circle the Chiefs.
I went with the Chiefs too and I lost.
Yeah, actually, like I said earlier on in the show, I was kind of flip-flopping between the two because I was thinking the Lions pretty much did have a chance. I thought I picked the Chiefs when Dave had asked me, but he actually went behind me and checked and saw that I picked Detroit for a few moments there. When Kansas City had the lead, I was sweating it for a few moments, but I ended up pulling through, so I got the win there. Pretty happy. Moving on to their next game, we got the Tennessee Titans going to the New Orleans Saints. Saints are a 3-point favorite. Who you guys got on that one?
I'm taking my Saints. Who that?
I kind of figured that with Travis.
No on the Saints, Travis. No dice. You'll be saying who dat lost.
So John's taking the Titans. For me, this is kind of tough. A little torn here. I know pretty much what I'm probably going to get out of the Titans. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of the Saints this year. Kamara's kind of a question mark. So is Michael Thomas. But it is at home, and it's at their dome. And I also know that it's Steve Gleason and who's the other guy from the Titans? I'm trying to remember his name. They're actually going to be honorary captains for this game, which is actually a big deal because of some of the stuff going on with the history of some of these guys. But because of that, I'm going to take the Saints. All right, let's see. Move on. We got my game. Eagles at the Patriots. Patriots are getting 4 points. Who do you guys think on that one?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Word.
Eagles.
See, I'm torn on this one, too. I mean, you got Bill Belichick, who's known for some shenanigans, okay? So who knows what he might have been up to? Probably nothing. But always can scheme pretty good, and this being the first game of the season, I'm a little worried about this game. Typically, my Eagles, for whatever reason, especially the last handful of years, we haven't done well in the first game of the season. So it's giving me a little pause. I don't want to pick the Patriots because I don't like them, but I don't want to just go with the homer pick. So for the radio, I am going to pick my Eagles, but I'm telling you guys right now, if the Patriots were to pull this off, I would not be surprised. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
I will be completely surprised.
So now we got the Sunday night football game, big rivalry game, Cowboys at Giants. Giants are getting 3.5 points. Who you guys think in this one?
I actually picked the Giants. I don't know why. I just think Cowboys are overrated as always.
What about you, John?
Giants.
I'm actually going to take the Cowboys in this one. First game of the season. I think they're going to get lucky in this one. Just crazy things end up happening first game of the year. I know it's at home with the Giants. I think at the end of the season, they're probably going to split this series between these two teams anyways, but I'll give the Cowboys the first one on the road. And our last one we got on Monday Night Football. This is going to be a big game that a lot of people are going to have their eyeballs on, not just because it's Monday Night Football, but because of the implications. You got one team, the Bills, who seem to be kind of going down a little bit, and the Jets, who seem to be on an upswing. So, like I said, big deal. A lot of expectations for both of these sides, and it's a big rivalry game. Who do you guys got?
I picked the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers' first game.
Jets, yeah.
Jets. I think the Bills are going to have a lot to prove, and they went out last year on a sour note. So I think this year, this first game on the road, I want to say there's going to be a lot of hype for the Jets. I think they're going to have a little bit of a letdown, and I think the Bills actually are going to pull this one off. So I'm going to take the Bills in this one. All right, how much time we got left, John? We got about a minute left, is that right?
Less than a minute.
Less than a minute.
Final
All right,
thoughts.
guys. Well, I was planning on getting in some stuff on my NFL division, like winners and stuff. Actually, yeah, let me go through this real quick. I'll just not even mention the divisions. I'll just tell you the teams I think are going to make the playoffs. Give you a quick rundown. NFC, Eagles, Falcons, Lions, 49ers. All right, in the East, in the AFC, Bills, Jaguars, Ravens, Chargers. My wild cards for NFC are Vikings, Giants, Saints. AFC, Bengals, Chiefs, and Steelers. I think it's going to be the Ravens and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I won't give away who I think wins that one. We'll wait later on. But you guys have a great weekend. We'll catch you guys on Monday. Check us back here on Monday on 104.3 ESPN, Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for Mosley Dolphin football. The rivalries are back. Listen to every game right here with play-by-play in ultra-high fidelity. Mosley Dolphin football on ESPN Northwest Florida is presented by Panama City Toyota, Orthopedic Specialist, Ellis Agency Insurance, Barbaritos Southwestern Grill and Cantina, Culligan Water,